it's Rachel. Today on Crack Your Bible, I'm just going to film this straight through because the editing software that I've been using is just absolute garbage. They did an update. You can't even put transitions on anymore without the audio messing up. You can't export it without the audio being mismatched to the video. So even though it was like the cheap holdover until I shelled out for a Mac with Final Cut Pro, I think within the next week or so, I'm just going to have to buckle down and just spend a couple grand on a new computer so that I can make videos that are actually watchable. Now, anyway, what I wanted to talk to you guys about is aliens. Specifically, I wanted to talk about some other stuff, but we are still in Genesis 7. Noah is on the ark, and, you know, you can't talk about Genesis without talking about the end times. You can't talk about the end times without talking about Genesis. And right now in theaters, we have Alien Covenant playing right now. We have Anonymous. They've come out and they've talked about how the government is going to release files about there being alien life. And even the Vatican, with this Pope, Pope Francis, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, they have top astronomers and scientists, and they are producing doctrine or church statements about how they would go about baptizing aliens. What is going on? Like, this is the craziest sounding stuff if you have never read Genesis 6. If you don't understand Genesis 6, none of this stuff makes any sense. And I want people to know that in Luke, I think it's Luke 21, since I can't edit this, I'm just going to go straight through, put the intro and the outro on the ends. And I think it's Luke 21. Jesus is talking about what it's going to be in the end days. And he says it's going to be just like it was in the days of Noah. And he names off and he says that there are going to be signs in the heavens, the sun is going to become dark, and that stars are going to fall. Now remember, Lucifer fell from heaven like lightning. Jesus himself said, Jesus himself said, I saw Satan fall like lightning to the ground. These fallen angels, these stars, these heavenly hosts falling to the earth. So you have to understand that not only are the actual heavenly bodies going to be shook up, but the demonic realm, the spiritual realm, is going to be materializing. And it says, Jesus continues, that men's hearts are going to fail them for fear of what they see coming to the earth. We know that there's going to be a great deception. We know that even the elect could be deceived. We know that there will be lying signs and wonders. And all of this is going to happen. And then Jesus will come back for us. So not today, but another day in the future, we'll talk about why pre-tribulation rapture is incorrect. We will face persecution. And, you know, last night I was out walking with my husband because a few times a week, my husband and I, we always go for a walk at night because it's 1,000,000,000 degrees in Las Vegas and the only time you can get out is at night. And it is always a ghost town. We live in a very, very walkable area of Las Vegas, but we live far enough away from the strip that we have a little less light pollution than other parts of Las Vegas. So I can see constellations like Orion or the Big Dipper or the North Star or Cassiopeia. So I'm very used to seeing stars and planets and things like that. And last night I was just kind of perturbed or disturbed because I was like, why is Cassiopeia twinkling? None of the other stars are twinkling. Planets don't twinkle because what it is there's gases in the atmosphere, and depending on how far away stars are from Earth, there can be like light refraction, it's scintillation, and it makes it look as if stars are twinkling when actually it's just light bending because of the gases in our atmosphere. And I was just like, this is the craziest thing. Like, why are no other stars twinkling, just this one constellation? Because you have the Big Dipper. Well, for you, how you're seeing it would be like, and then you go out, and then Cassiopeia looks like a W. It's like this. One leg's more like this, where it's like really long and kind of wide. So, I mean, just how I felt, I was like, this is so weird. What is going on? Imagine if aliens came down. People would freak the heck out. Like, they would be having heart attacks. People, War of the Worlds people were committing suicide hearing a broadcast that was for entertainment only back in, I want to say, like the 40s, maybe 30s, 40s, or 50s here in the United States, where they thought that there was like an actual alien invasion. People were freaking out and killing themselves. Imagine if you turn on CNN, Fox News, and you see Pope Francis standing with a bunch of aliens like, oh, these are the ones that actually gave us the ideas for Christianity. People are going to leave the church, and the elect, you know, they're going to have a hard time saying like, what? Like, it's going to shake people's faith. But if you don't understand Genesis 6, you can be led astray by this. If this happens, what else would make people leave the church in droves? Where's this great falling away going to happen? I had somebody tell me, who's a pastor. I was talking to him about this like a year ago. And I said, you know, what do you think the great deception is going to be, where you're going to have a great falling away of Christians, and even the elect are going to be deceived? And he's like, oh, I think it's just going to be world peace. And I said, why would that make the elect deceived? No, something is going to have to happen where people are going to be like, peace out to Christianity. And if you have aliens come down, people are going to leave the church. Sorry, I have like glitter eyeshadow, and I think some is in my eye. Okay, but anyway, what I was going to say is that if aliens come down, do not believe that it is actually aliens. These are just these fallen angels, these satanic, demonic, Nephilim beings. They are not aliens from another planet. They're the same ones that came down in Jared's day. You have the same ones that came down in Enoch's day, the same ones that came down in Noah's day, and afterwards. They're the ones that gave humans the technology for like smelting and metalwork. You see that in the book of Enoch, which is an extra biblical text, but we've already gone over some of the technology of the Watchers from the Bible. So you're going to see a lot of crazy stuff happen, and a lot of people's faith is going to be shaken. You're going to see a great falling away. You're going to see the elect figure out like, I don't know how to reconcile what I'm seeing with what I believe. And you are going to have men's hearts fail them. If aliens, these fallen angels come, it's going to be a big problem, and a lot of people are going to leave the church. So you need to understand Genesis 6. You need to understand Genesis 7. You need to understand the Bible so that you're not led astray when this happens. Because if Anonymous is right, and the government's going to announce stuff about aliens existing, how are you going to witness to people? How are you going to understand what's going on? And you have to realize that why did fallen angels come? Because they wanted to corrupt all flesh. That's why God had to have the entire flood. Because Adam sinned. All of his descendants are now under the headship of Satan. So to be right with God, to have a relationship with God, to have their sin to have their sin atoned for, they're going to have somebody who has legal standing in this case to step in and say, I will be punished for this sin. Like, I have legal standing. And Jesus had legal standing because not only was he a descendant of Adam through Mary, but he could atone for the sin of everybody because he was also perfect. Under the law, he had committed no crimes because he was God. He was perfect. So he had legal standing. He, had that curse through Adam's line because he came through Mary, but he was also perfect and he was blameless. He was sinless, so he could atone for humanity's sins. But the fallen angels wanted to corrupt everything so that there would be no suitable descendant from Adam who could have legal standing before God in this case and be a perfect atonement, a perfect sacrifice for humanity's sin, so that everybody would die in their sin, because Satan wants you dead. If he can't reign in heaven, he for sure doesn't want you to reign in heaven. And it says that in the millennial kingdom, we will reign with Christ. Satan wanted to be God. I did a video about it. I'll put a link up here. And if he can't do that, and he knows that his end is in the lake of fire, he doesn't want you to reign. So he will do everything to destroy you. And you're going to see that in the last days. You're going to see where all flesh has been corrupted. People take the mark of the beast. All of a sudden, they're unredeemable. So it's probably going to have a DNA component to it. You might see people mating with these things. They're going to take a mark in either their hand or their forehead. And it's going to be a problem. And I want people to understand that these things repeat themselves over and over and over in the Bible. I've said it so many times, but the Watchers or the fallen angels, the Nephilim, they came down in Genesis 6. They came down after the flood and created giants like Goliath. You have the end days where people will be so corrupted that they will be unredeemable. If they take the mark, they cannot have a relationship with God. It's game over. There's no way to redeem yourself after you take this mark. And with aliens, man's heart's failing them, being unredeemable, I guarantee you it has something to do with aliens. And whenever you hear the word alien, don't think like extraterrestrial. They're not. 100%, whatever these creatures are going to be, they're going to be demonic. They're going to be other fallen angels taking the form of whatever creature, shape-shifting into whatever creature to convince you that Jesus is a lie, Christianity's wrong, and to become one flesh with them so that you can become unredeemable. Don't take the bait. Be smart. Be wise as serpents, harmless as doves. You gotta know your Bible. Crack your Bible, please, so that you're not led astray. So that's just something that I wanted you guys to think about. I would just keep your eyes open. I would hope that that isn't what's happening, but it just seems kind of weird that we have so much stuff in the media. You have the church, they're talking about baptizing aliens. You have Anonymous, you have the government, blah, 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 blah. So please keep your eyes out, keep them open, and I will see you guys on Friday. Please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.